Alright, welcome back. Vengeance 288. Alright, so basically today's video is gonna be about like how most girls I've talked to and met in my personal life, from my personal experiences, most of them have been narcissists. And it's kind of a struggle that a lot of guys who are like average, like normally kind of or sub five have to deal with. Is a lot of girls, they will like act a lot more narcissistic and kind of like bratish to you, uh, depending on the way you look or just your personal preferences. But obviously, like to the hard guys, they'll show them more respect because typically, like you'll see that like girls just respect guys who look better, who are taller, who are more handsome, etc. And it's a problem I've had to deal with many times, and I'm trying to kind of see like what's the best way to kind of deal with that, and I think I've kind of found it in a way. Most of the time, like well, I've had to deal with it like loads of times. I've met a few girls like here and there. Most of the time, they're just friends with me and just like kind of disrespecting me in that sense. But they're quite like quick to kind of just like get rid of me or block me or whatever, just like tell me to fuck off and all that shit. So it's kind of obvious like what they think of me in that sense. But I just say like most of the time you need to kind of disregard them as well and act as if like you've already have everything that you need. So kind of like you need to like kind of act as if you are the person that you want to be already, and then kind of like make it so that you're the one who's on top. You're the man. You're the guy who has things, and you can kind of like overcome all these like circumstances, all these scenarios. Like a girl might be saying, "Oh, you're just like some random weirdo," and then a few years later, when you have your money, it's like she's coming back and all that shit. Like I've had a few times where like girls they try and block me on Instagram, and then, like, when they see me walking down the street, they just start trying to talk to me and all that shit. And I just try to ignore them. Like, I've had that happen to me, like, 5 times maybe already. It's kind of weird. So, and then those scenarios, I was just treating it as if, like, they're just some weirdos, like, some randoms. Because, like, that's the way you need to be. You need to kind of, like, be able to distinguish and identify, like, weird girls and, like, narcissistic kind of bitches from, like, the kind of good girls. I'm not saying, like, all girls are narcissistic. I'm just saying, like, a lot of them are. Most of them, and most of the ones I've spoken to and met, um, they are like that. And even if they're not like that to me, they could actually be nice to me, but then like be bad to another person, bad to another guy. That makes sense. And I will even know if they're narcissistic because they're respecting me, but not respecting other people. So it is quite a turn off when you kind of see the kind of behavior that I'm talking about here. But you even see in nightclubs, like girls that kind of always like they feel like they're the ones who have the power and the ones that are in control and can just do whatever they want, and they kind of like they just like you see in nightclubs like some girls they just like dance up to like 5 different guys just taking an absolute piss. Like you see one girl with one guy and then next minute she's like with another, and it's just shit. That's why I don't really like to go out as much, but I still will once in a while. But these days I've just been at home. My sleep schedule's not too bad, so I just kind of want to keep it that way. But yeah, anyway, back to the points I was making. Yeah, basically, you can kind of see what kind of friends they hang around with. If they hang around chavs, if they hang around kind of higher class people, if you know what I mean. Like, if they hang around junkies, a lot of times they'll be just wearing like tracksuits and Nike Techs. So you can kind of see what kind of person they are and what they're into, and just tell them to fuck off or just ignore them. But typically, like, the more attention you give them, the worse it gets. So like the least and like the less amount of attention you can give them, the less their kind of like ego gets inflated, and the less they feel like they're kind of in power. Because a lot of this game is kind of like it's a game about power. It's a game about who has more than the other person. When you have like when you're rich and successful and handsome, like all the cards are in your favor. You can just like choose whichever girl you want. You can just tell that girl to fuck off. Just go for another one. Just pick whoever one is in your DMs. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about when it comes to like a game of power. And a lot of time when girls are younger, they're the ones that have more power because they have more beauty and they don't need to establish themselves. Men have to like establish themselves first and basically max out all the important areas, and then they'll have the power. Then they'll have everything they need. And like First Man said, shout out to First Man. He said like, girls looks typically deteriorate over time. You know, the looks become worse as they get older, and it's very true. You know, once a girl gets into the kind of mid to late 30s, early 40s, they kind of become less desirable, and they don't have the same spark about them. And it's kind of brutal for some of them, but it kind of favors us in some ways. And I'd say, like, as a guy, yeah, we can get better as we get older, but our looks don't necessarily get better. Like, when we get to 50, our looks aren't gonna get better, but we can still kind of have the same, like, aura that we have 10 years, 20 years prior in some ways, and still kind of keep it going. But with girls, they usually kind of lose that spark that they have in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about mainly. Anything else really? Just trying to think. So yeah, a lot of times I've been trying to kind of avoid going out and just meeting people, and a lot of time with these kind of narcissists, you can kind of just see it in their kind of like facial expressions and the way they just like the way they move and the way their hand gestures are, like the way they kind of roll their eyes. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I think with some girls I can just like see the narcissism in their eyes, the way they look away, or have this kind of like bratish kind of like, oh, I'm the main character kind of vibe. And also like kind of the way they post on Instagram, they post a lot of selfies, a lot of pictures of themselves smiling as if they're having a great life, as if they're living their best life, as if they're like a main character, when really like no one gives a fuck, to be honest, and I don't care. So yeah, most of the time it's just like with girls, like the quicker you can get rid of them, if they're bad, obviously, you know, the better, and the more you can focus on like higher quality girls who matter and better people, you know. But yeah, sorry if I was mumbling a bit throughout the video. I've just been a bit like, I've just been drinking a lot, and I'm kind of fasting a bit. I'm doing a bit of a fast. I'm gonna have my third meal today, but anyway, see you.